The administration backtracking from its early loud claims, like these over the weekend, that agents had acted totally correctly in the killing of Alex Preddy and other recent controversies. Tonight, the story is that they admit there were mistakes. And the new official that Donald Trump just sent to Minnesota, Tom Homan, rejecting the type of Trump defenders, including within the administration, who had been insisting initially that this was all an acceptable operation.
I do not want to hear that everything that's been done here has been perfect. No agency or organization is perfect.
Not perfect. It's a step that shows the pressure is working, and I will show you right now how that is measurable and why it's not the whole story, and we don't take anything from any government simply at face value when they're under this kind of pressure. But the street protests and Democrats using new tools in Washington and in the back room, and sometimes public pressure from a growing group of Republicans, all of this adding up. Republicans see that gunning down Americans is not popular, to say the least. A growing majority of Americans now say ICE has gone too far. This is new polling from none other, if you look in the lower left, than Fox News' polling operation itself. Now, Trump officials are changing their rhetoric, and they're claiming there are changes to the orders for ICE agents. Now, you think about the aggressive and escalating stance they have taken towards citizens on the streets. That's changed. They're now, according to Reuters, instructing ICE agents to only do what Trump on the campaign trail said would be the entire operation, only target immigrants with criminal cases. And they are forbidding other activity, as they're told here in all caps, quote, do not communicate or engage with agitators. Now, that's a written order. It could be changed very soon. It could be leaked or promoted to the press to try to offer something right now. But let's be clear, this written order admits the flawed approach that those agents were taking up until now. And if the administration later waters it down and reverses it, if they think that's the way to go after outrage may have cooled or people move on to other controversies, you remember when we were talking about invading Greenland? Well, this new order will still provide a public written baseline that advocates and others can try to hold these agents to, because just to say the obvious, the job of ICE agents is not to engage with agitators or patrol citizens and communities all day long. That has nothing to do with enforcing immigration and customs, which is what ICE does. Republicans know they cannot outrun voters in this year's election, even if they can avoid town halls right now. And the reports are House Republicans fuming about DHS Chief Noem's leadership. Dems want to impeach her over the killings and these public safety failures. Remember, when the government comes in and kills people in avoidable ways, whether or not it's ever deemed a murder in an investigation, it's a public safety failure. The government is making things worse, not better. They're leading to Americans' deaths. And these are failures that vulnerable Republicans are aware of, Axios reports, putting them in this painful spot. Now, can Democrats actually break MAGA Republican loyalty to force, say, a vote on impeaching Noem, on removing her? And then could they even win over enough votes to do so, asking Republicans to defy Trump? Well, is it possible? We know the answer is yes. That legislative situation just happened a few months ago on Epstein. That was an issue where Donald Trump demanded loyalty. But by the time the Democrats built pressure and then forced a House vote, well, we know what happened. By the time it reached the Senate, Trump could not get the Republican leader, who you see on your screen, to even slow the process, to do him a solid. He also couldn't find a single senator to object. So it flew through the Senate, passing unanimously, Trump losing badly. That is a legislative history that haunts the White House's congressional whipping operation. Now, both these issues, of course, have victims, which do provide major stakes. But to be clear politically here, when I'm talking about how Congress works, the comparison is not that these issues are, quote unquote, similar. The thing that's similar is Donald Trump's weakening grip on congressional Republicans. We know that his congressional wall already cracked. So avoiding a vote to remove Noem is one thing. And the White House asking Republicans to dodge public statements might buy them some time. Asking them to pretend things are okay, you can see some Republicans are saying, we're not going to do that. Others may be a little quiet. Give them a couple days. That's part of politics unfortunately, even when there's politics involved in whether we're going to deal with the government killing Americans. But here's the point I'm reminding you tonight. If there is a no confidence vote in Noam's leadership, if Dems could force that by peeling off some Republicans, the same playbook they did on Epstein, well, that's a whole nother issue. Because some Republicans are already signaling they want her out, that they could vote to do it. And others, when faced with the no confidence vote, don't exactly want to stand up and put on record, not knowing how many more Americans could be hurt, endangered, illegally detained, or killed, that they are fine with how things are going. Even Tom Homan says he's not fine with it. Now, Democrats are still in the minority, but they can fight. They have other extra tools if they want to use them. And that's, remember, what many Americans have been demanding across what is now this very clearly extreme second term, where Donald Trump's not doing the things he campaigned on. Prices are up. Problems are rampant. He's not just targeting the violent criminals who might have come over from other countries. He's not doing what he said he would do, but he is doing other things that some people underestimated or didn't think he could do, unleashing these kind of politicized, possibly illegal, definitely violent operations only in places largely where he thinks the opposition is, going off and indicting people he disagrees with, trying to crack elections as we know it. If enough people are under investigation or on trial or imprisoned, it's hard to have free and fair elections. And while anyone can quibble with one or two cases, and we try to report them all fairly, Donald Trump has now put over 14 people under investigation, including 2 members of the Federal Reserve. Nobody seriously thinks this is on the level. Well, what's striking here is that Minnesota has shown how the pressure is working, how people are standing up and showing courage even as they've seen others gunned down in their very community. These mass protests and civic support groups are showing strength in the cold, strength in numbers, resilience that harkens back to a long American tradition. And that's just in Minnesota. We know there have been protests across all of this past year. They have broken records. The ability to hold these protests is a guardrail that people are using, as I've been reporting, even though we also have to tragically report that this government has tried very directly, admitted an agenda against the First Amendment, against peaceful protests, with federal agents menacing people, threatening them in broad daylight, and yet the people are marching. That effort, along with the particular way that facts and journalism and the terrible videos of some of these incidents about what the Trump agents are doing, has driven up the opposition I showed you. Trump's ICE plans are opposed by 59% of the public, and that's in Fox News' accounting. That's plus or minus 3. You could call it 62%. It's only getting worse. And these are people that include, statistically, folks who have been Trump voters in the past. Pressure works.